it's natural to look at the OU ban list, or the Uber tier, in every generation, and wonder, I wonder if that Pokemon sitting in Ubers would actually be that bad in OU. It's usually one of the Pokemon that isn't actually very good in Ubers, but was too strong for OU. So this goes back to Gen 1, with Mew itself. There are two Ubers, Mew and Mewtwo, and some people say, yeah, is Mew really that bad? Sometimes OU plus Mew gets played. It's called Mewbers. It's pretty balanced. And then in Gen 2, you have Celebi, which actually used to be OU. Some people think Ho-Oh should be unbanned too, or both. Then in Gen 3, you have some people who think, oh, well, without Soldew, then Latias wouldn't be so bad. And then in Gen 5, you have a whole bunch of stuff, actually. Oh, Tornadus Therian wasn't so bad. Just, we have Dugtrio banned now. Yeah, okay. Yeah, people like to... I think, just as my first tangent of what I'm sure will be many in this video, I think if you really want to shake up the old generations, you should try to do it with the tools you already have in the metagame, which are plenty, as all the innovation we see every year, year after year. There's hardly a lack of options to play around with, and I think this desire for an artificial injection of a very likely broken Pokemon just to spice things up, it's not very competitive, to say the least. But it makes for some interesting discussion, so that's why this video is being made about Mew. Yeah, in Gen 6 OU, there's other stuff. I personally don't think Hoopa Unbound should have been banned, but that's another video. And so on. So in Gen 4, one of the Pokemon that gets thrown around in these kinds of discussions is Mew. And it's easy to see why. It's like the other base 100 Pixies, and we have Jirachi, Celebi, and Shaman in OU, so why not Mew? And a lot of people will point to its flaws. Oh, it's not as resilient as Jirachi, it's neutral to Stealth Rock, and affected by Sand, and Poison, it's weak to Crunch, and yeah, I don't know why only those negatives get focused on, as if they are so detrimental that they would somehow overshadow Mew's endless positives. But hey, that's what this video is for. So let's start with that typing before we go, oh well, but it is weak to Pursuit. And okay, let me. So I think the Mew for OU thing, it might have been tossed around a few times in Gen 4 OU, but not really, not seriously. Whereas in Gen 5, then it went from an Uber Pokemon to a UU Pokemon. It was still very good in OU, as was seen throughout the generation, but hardly overpowering. And so some people think, oh, well, it wouldn't be that bad in Gen 4 OU either. Yeah, so for anyone coming from that perspective, let me remind you that in Gen 4 OU, base 100 is really, really good speed. And in Gen 5, it's pretty good. Let me also remind you that the power creep in Gen 5 OU is astonishing. You have permanent rain and a lot of really strong new Pokemon, and just anyway, yeah, there's no Volcarona and Keldeo and Latios in Gen 5 OU or in Gen 4 OU rather, that you have to deal with. Maybe there shouldn't be in Gen 5 OU either. Ooh, controversial, but I'll get to that in another video. Anyway, so how to fix Gen 5 OU? Bam, got the next one. So, yeah, in Gen 4 OU, Mew would be a lot faster and a lot bulkier, relative to the competition. It's since I just did the Salamence video, may as well go back to that one. People say, oh, well, in Gen 5 OU, it didn't really gain any defensive checks. Yes, but it also was thrown into... Actually, first of all, yes, it did. Like Mew, for one. And second of all, it was thrown into a much, much faster, stronger metagame. So it didn't get as much opportunity. I mean, it was still a great Pokemon, obviously. But, yeah, so Mew... Yeah, relative to Gen 4 OU, Mew's, it's not Mew's stats, it's Mew's stats in conjunction with its Movepool, which I should remind you is almost endless. I mean, But before we get into the whole, Smeargle-esque argument, let's just look at I don't know why it's compared to Jirachi. Nothing should be compared to Jirachi. The only thing that ever should get directly compared to Jirachi insofar as it competes for a team slot, I mean, I guess it depends on the kind of team. But really, like, in terms of, like, being a physical steel type, then the only thing that really gets compared to it ever, or at least the thing that I find competing for its team slot sometimes, is Metagross. And, I mean, even that's on the rare side. So, comparing it to Jirachi is silly. And I should mention that you would see a lot of teams with Mew and Jirachi. So, that's another comparison to Salamence, which is, yeah, Salamence on its own might not be so bad. Maybe. But Salamence and Latias together? I don't know. That's kind of a lot. And the fact that Salamence on its own still would probably be a bit much. Mew is similar in this vein. God, I'm just having these visions of just unleashing all of Salamence and Mew and maybe even Manaphy into OU and just maybe Latios too. Since we have Latias, what possible difference could there? Yeah, but for now we'll just focus on Mew. So yeah, comparing it to Jirachi and saying, oh well, Mew is like Jirachi but affected by sand and weak to crunch. And since people like making those Gen 5 OU comparisons, let me remind you that T-Tar having Crunch is hardly what holds Mew back in Gen 5 OU. If anything, Mew wants T-Tar to come into it, because it pretty much never runs a set that can't mess up T-Tar in some way. So, and even when Scarftar was at its most popular, and Scarftar and Mew were actually quite popular at overlapping periods for a lot of Black and White 1 OU, and then for periods in Black and White 2. But, Scarftar was hardly like, oh, well, now I don't have to deal with Mew anymore, because it would not do enough damage if Mew was healthy, and it would get burned, and then it would be useless, and Mew would heal up, and it would be like you threw away your T-Tar for nothing. So, let's not overestimate just how bulky Mew is. And so, I won't go to the damage calc because that's something you can consult for yourself. But Mew can invest in defense, and then T-Tar will be nothing for it. It's like, oh, T-Tar can run Lumberry, and then it's faster. You just get Will-O-Wisp twice because it can still take non-burned Crunch into burned Crunch, just like with Scarf. And the fact that if Mew really wants, it can do all these things. I mean, this move pool it has. Yeah, you know what? Well, actually, before we get into the move pool, then we have to get into the positives of its typing, which again separate it from Jirachi, because yeah, okay, it's affected by Sand and Stealth Rock and Poison and Crunch and even Gengar Shadow Ball. Oh my God. Yeah, okay. And now let's look at the positives of Mew's typing, which would make it a partner to Jirachi as opposed to a competitor for the slot. First of all, it is not weak to fire and ground. That's kind of good, considering how big those offensive typings are. It's also resistant to fighting. That is really good. It is a fighting resist that does not really fear the most common pursuiter in the game, because it can, in fact, it welcomes that pursuiter because it can mess it up so easily. Far more easily than something like Rotom or Latias. I mean, Latias can, but it has to really dedicate itself and Reflect and maybe Toxic or Thunder Wave, and even then it's not exactly solved. It's against a lot of T-Tar sets anyway. So with Mew, it's a lot more simple because it can directly threaten T-Tar if it desires. I mean, it's got Burn, it's got fighting moves, it's got U-Turn. So, and in general, just very sturdy fight resist. So, yeah, that typing is very, very different. Now let's go to that move pool, which includes a lot of things Jirachi can only dream of. Okay, so I'm not going to go through everything here. I'm just going to go through the big ones. So I'm not going to include Aqua Tail. Okay. So, Aura Sphere, this is already really good. This means it can run a special attacking set, which does not rely on hidden power to get through Heatran and Tyranitar. Well, Jirachi can do that with Grass Knot for T-Tar, but it needs HP Ground for Heatran, and it also... It doesn't have a good fighting type option which cuts out, which provides a lot of neutral coverage against things like Skarm, Zong, Metagross, uh, or Bronzong being the main one with and Bronzong and Skarm with Grass Knot and HP Ground together. So Aura Sphere has just incredible coverage. Oh, and the fact that it hits a little Pokemon called Clefable super effectively. A special attacker that hits Clefable super effectively. That's already great. So now you've got your special attacker, which rips through a lot of the special checks. So now let's continue. Oh, people say, oh, Baton Pass Mew would be broken. Well, no, it would, because Baton Pass is banned already in DPP, so Mew would not be able to do that. At least. So, okay, then we move on to Bulk Up, Calm Minds, all this, stuff, even when it probably wouldn't use it, you think about it, and then there would be the versatility aspect of what Mew does. Its stats are too good for how versatile it is. Because with Smeargle, yeah, it learns literally every move in the game, but it also has terrible stats. Mew does not learn literally every move in the game, but, it comes pretty close. And it has incredible stats for this tier, so it's really good. I guess the Salmon's comparisons just keep coming. Even if you know the set, it's really, really good. Potentially overbearingly so. And then the fact that you don't know the set is gonna, make things a lot worse. It's not like Pokemon like Latias, where it's like, oh, well, I didn't expect that move on Latias, but it's probably not game-breaking because it doesn't have that shocking a move pool, and it's not that strong. And the only Pokemon that's really comparable in this unpredictability range is Jirachi, but Jirachi does not have the high-powered moves and misses a lot of Jirachi's coverage. Mew's coverage. And for example, the fact that Mew has Earthquake is already pretty enormous. So yeah, Jirachi's unpredictability in terms of offensive coverage is made up for by the fact that it isn't actually that strong, not because of its stats, but because of the base power of its moves and its lack of big boosting options. Whereas Mew has Nasty Plot and Swords Dance and huge base power moves. But, we're going alphabetically, so far. Okay, Aura Sphere, we already went over why that's huge. Bulk Up and Calm Mind, and then, counter, stuff like that. That's, who cares? Calm Mind I probably wouldn't use. I mean, it could, but, it's also got Nasty Plot. So, and I don't think, a bulky Calm Mind set would really be that threatening. That doesn't really play to Mew's strength, so you can almost ignore that because it has Nasty Plot. So then Earthquake, that's pretty enormous. Oh yeah, it's got Explosion. That's something else it doesn't have in Gen 5 OU. Not really, because yes, it can explode, and there were some offensive teams which used Stealth Rock, Boom, Mew, but that's for the momentum. Because in Gen 5, then Explosion was nerfed, so it's only 250 base power, whereas in Gen 4, it still has that effect where it's 250 base power, and it halves the opponent's defense, so it's effectively, roughly around 500 base power. So, yeah, you've got a really, really strong Explosion here on a Pokemon that also learns Swords Dance, and can complement this pretty much any way it wants. So, I mean, strong explosions are nothing new to DPP, but explosion on a Pokemon like this is, scary. Fake Out if you want to do, fun lead stuff. Who really cares about that? Obviously, not every move Mew has makes it broken. We're going to get to Knockoff, and no, not having Knockoff and, Heal Bell and stuff does not make Mew broken. It's having all this stuff that lets it be so good at everything and be unpredictable while doing so to unfairly game-changing degrees that would lead it to be so. Okay, so after Fake Out, we get to the big ones. Fire Blast and Flamethrower. For coverage, I mean, this is pretty enormous. So Jirachi, if it wants to go for the big base power attacks, it has to run Thunder, and it pretty much never does that because bad accuracy. But I mean, Thunderbolt still does fine. But it also doesn't have the coverage of Fire Blast, or, Flamethrower even. It has to rely on Fire Punch and HP Fire, and Mew does not have that issue. It is going to roast things a lot more easily. So, Yeah, yikes, another fearsome tool for the special sets. Or, the support sets, or, the lead sets, or whatever. We're going to go through potential movesets later, and the list is nearly endless. Focus Blast, who really cares because it Aura Sphere, so never mind. Focus Punch, Grass Knot, okay, that's good. Heal Bell, that's really good. Being able to fit that would make... you would make every style of team more annoying and chaotic. It'd make offensive teams harder to wall. It'd make balanced teams more difficult to break and to break down, both as a wall and as a supporter with things like Heal Bell and... oh, and it would break down other teams because of Taunt and Will-O-Wisp and all that stuff. Yeah, it sounds nightmarish. Now, all that being said, I do not necessarily mind the idea of like a Mew tournament just to see. Also because it doesn't really affect me. I don't think I would enjoy the metagame, but I'd enjoy seeing what would happen. Be pretty fun. So yes, we were at Heal Bell. That one's big. Ice Beam, that's another thing Jirachi would kill to have, rather than relying on HP Ice or Icy Wind or Ice Beam. I mean, this upgrade in base power and coverage options is that would be terrifying because Jirachi, yeah, okay, at least it doesn't hit that hard. Mew, yikes. Yeah. Then after Ice Beam, then you come to Iron Defense. I'm sure someone would find a way for that to be irritating. And then we have Knockoff. Now, Knockoff is already a massive pain in the hands of Clefable and Gliscor and Empoleon. And Mew would be... oh my god. It's so fast and so bulky. All the other stuff we know already. And it piles onto Knockoff with Will-O-Wisp. And you think, oh, I'll absorb that with Heatran. And, well, no, you're not. Or Clefable. I mean, those getting knocked off is already really bad. And something that you generally try to avoid. And you're like, oh, I'm going to absorb it. If it's Taunt, Will-O-Wisp, Knockoff, then I'll just absorb it with Breloom. And then it's like, oh, yeah, you're going to use Breloom to switch into Mew. And how could that possibly go wrong? Because I'm sure it doesn't have anything that it could possibly, yeah. Okay, so then Low Kick, because it's got all the fighting coverage it could want. So that whole, T-Tar will stop it. Yeah, okay, it's going to stop, Brick Break, Low Kick, Super Power. Yeah, no thank you. Nasty Plot. Yep, okay, that's, I'm sure that would be really fun to deal with. Because in DPP, the boosting special attackers are offensive Calm Minders, Jirachi, Suicune. And for that to suddenly, even an offensive Latias has to use Calm Mind on those special hyper offense teams if it really wants to do that. That, or you just have things like Shadow Ball Gengar. I don't know why I specified Shadow Ball there. Gengar and like Heatran that are instantly strong. But for something, but they've got their weaknesses, Heatran's on the slower side, Gengar's incredibly frail. Mew is fast and bulky and has an incredible boosting move and has all the coverage you could possibly want. It's pretty much unwallable. Then unwallable on its own does not necessarily mean something is broken, but it is a warning sign on something that is so all-around excellent as Mew is. So then we have the Nightshade, who really cares. I'm sure that would be, like, on the Taunt Wisp set, I'm sure that would be annoying if you don't want to run Ice Beam or Knockoff. That would be fine. So then Overheat, yeah, cool. Oh, Pain Split. I actually didn't know Mew got Pain Split. I don't know why it would be used, but I'm sure someone would find some reason. Protect, there is definitely a way to have Mew's Protect be infinitely annoying. Psychic, okay, good, stab, blah, blah, blah. It has Roar, too, yeah, so Mew could even be a phaser. I didn't, honestly, before seeing that, I didn't even think about that. See, it would be an immense pain in every way. It can do it all. That's weird, I used to really like Dragon Tail and Mew in Gen 5. But yeah, Roar would be... I mean, okay, again, like I said, Knockoff and Roar and Heal Bell, these do not make Mew broken. In and of themselves. It's everything in conjunction with its stats. And I feel like I really have to... I realize I'm repeating myself, but in this case, I feel like I really have to hammer it down. Because tiering arguments, I've seen way too many of those. And there will always be that whole thing, oh, well, you mentioned how Mew has Psychic Stab. Does everything with Psychic Stab become broken now? Does Mesprit become broken? No, so obviously. But I just wanted to emphasize very strongly that that is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, look at all this stuff that Mew can do. That Jirachi can't, by the way, since we love inviting that Jirachi comparison. Excuse. Rock Polish. Oh, yeah, Giken Rock Polish. I don't really see it using that much, but, you know, forget outspeeding it with an offensive team late game, I guess. There would be a use. You know, just because it isn't instantly apparent doesn't mean that it might not be, analyzed later on and then put to incredible use, as we have seen many, many times over the generations. Like, a lot of the things that we take for granted as standard now, that was once a huge innovation, and it seemed, why did no one think of this before? Or even better, people were thinking when it first came out, oh, well, that seems silly, and now it's just standard. So, might I remind everyone that Clefable was once laughed at in OU, or seen, and then it was seen as, oh, well, I guess it has an okay niche, and then some people were like, why is this still being used? It's a passive flavor of the month gimmick, and now some people want to ban it. So, yeah. Okay, Rock Polish, Rock Slide, and Stone Edge, because it gets rock coverage too. Cool. Roost. Instant recovery. No need for Wish Protect. Now, Jirachi gets by without that, fine, but, I mean, you want to talk about annoying. Having instant recovery is something no one... Well, I guess Celebi can, but Celebi has its own weaknesses. And does not have the endlessly diverse move pool of Mew. So, speaking of Celebi, here's a Grass Stab, Seed Bomb, oh my god, so the Swords Dance set can go Grass too. No, it doesn't matter. Seismic Toss, Shadow Ball, Shadow Claw, Soft Boiled, which I always preferred over Roost. Stealth Rock, very cool, it can do that. Sucker Punch, that's another unique move in Mew's arsenal, which would make all sorts of things really irritating. Super Fang, oh my god, I forgot about Super Fang. Oh my god, that would be unbearable. I mean, Crobat struggles to fit Super Fang into its move slot, but even when Crobat does manage to fit Super Fang, then it's not that game-breaking because Crobat is really flawed. Even though Crobat's a very cool Pokemon, but it is flawed. But on a Pokemon with Knockoff and Will-O-Wisp, Super Fang would be... Oh my god. Yeah, Super Fang Mew would be a massive, massive pain. Now, I'm not saying, again, Super Fang does not make it broken. Super Fang on top of everything else Mew does just makes it even more of a... how am I supposed to deal with this? It can do anything. Surf, that's another... I said Superpower already. Yeah, Surf, that's more awesome coverage, because sometimes Jirachi's like, oh, I need some water coverage. I want to use Water Pulse. Yeah, Mew can just Surf. There's SD, which we mentioned already. Taunt, that's something else none of the other Pixies have. Kind of a big deal. It means Mew can be a lead, Mew can do support, Mew could stick it on a Nasty Plot set if it really wanted. So much for Blissey checking it. Then Thunder, Thunderbolt, Thunderwind, Toxic. I don't think Transform would really... I mean, it would be funny, but I don't think... actually, Mew uses Transform once every couple blue moons in Ubers. So, I'm sure someone would find a way for that to be irritating. Trigger. U-Turn also. That is something else Jirachi has, but I think people underestimate how irritating it would be. It's like, oh, let me just go to my T-Tar. Oh, whoops, I got U-Turned on. Waterfall. Will-O-Wisp, which you've already mentioned, would be an immense pain. I mean, you can't absorb this with anything safely, and people already get irritated with Burn in the current state of DPP, when it's really just, Heatran and Rotom and Gengar dishing it out. Yeah, stick it on Mew. That'll be fun. X-Scissors and Headbutt. Alright, let me just skim through the usually useless moves just to see if there's anything there. Amnesia, Barrier, I don't think so. Block, there would definitely be some irritating application of Block. Bullet Seed. No, I didn't mean to say Bullet Seed. I meant to say Brine. For some reason, but no. Captivate, nah. Charge Beam, maybe. Boo. Dream Eater. Oof. Actually, I got Stab on Dream Eater. That'd be pretty messed up. Nah, that wouldn't be that good. Gastro Acid. Oh my god, Gastro Acid. Oh, it can nullify Clefable's Magic Guard and Breloom's Poison Heal. Oh my god, it just got even more irritating. Oh man. Gravity, that'd be fun. Hail. Um, Also, I forgot to say this in the Salamence video, but in Salamence's heyday, no one ever used weather-changing moves as much as they do now to support things like, Suicune. So if, Sand is really just cramping your style on Mence or Mew or whatever, then you can just support it with a weather-changing move just like you would for Suicune or something. And there goes that. So, yeah. Obviously, you can't discount the presence of Sand, but yeah. Oh yeah, Mew gets Hypnosis because it wasn't stupid enough already. Then it's going to... me first. I'm sure there's something irritating for that. Mimic. In case it wants to mimic spikes or something, I don't know. Psych Up. Skill Swap. That might be funny. Oh yeah, you steal Breloom's Poison Heal or something. Or you steal Clefable's Magic Guard. Oh my god. Oh, that'd be horrible. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I don't even have to go through the sets anymore. To illustrate how... Oh, it gets Worry Seed too as a Gaster Acid alternative. Okay, so now that we know all these things Mew can do, let's think about some sets. And honestly, I feel like most of the argument's already made. Because it's hard to imagine... It's kind of like a choice paralysis thing, where Mew has so many options that, like, right off the bat, you think of, like, the obvious sets that you know from other metagames, but once the... I know that once the metagame would actually start being played for something serious, then something really, really stupid would come up, when the best players had, like, full motivation to really explore everything it could do. So I'm definitely gonna, miss some probably a very obvious set that would be a massive pain. But I mean, all the options we've gone over already, you can mix and match them to your heart's desire. You can run Nasty Plot Roar if you feel like. That's just a random example, and it would still be irritating. But even the standard sets, just to reiterate, even if you know it's coming, it's still going to be really good because, I mean, Jirachi is good and unpredictable, but even when you know everything Jirachi is throwing at you, doesn't stop it from being good. Mew is very, very similar. So, the standard sets. It can run an Azelf-esque lead set, but a lot bulkier. Rocks, Taunt, U-Turn, Boom, kind of like it does in Ubers. That would be very good. It could run a Trick Scarf set as a lead to mess things up for the opponent. It can do pretty much anything. It can mix Knockoff into that lead set somehow. It could mix pretty much whatever it wants. T-Wave, Will-O-Wisp. Synchronize is also lots of fun for messing with status leads. I mean, goodbye. Actually, no, Sleep. Synchronize doesn't bounce back Sleep, but you would dominate Roserade lead very thoroughly, is what I was getting at, even without. But yeah. So yeah, that's just a lead set, and now obviously lead Mew would not be broken, but then you get to the mid game stuff. That's where it's really, I mean, if you've ever played Gen 5 OU or UU, then you pretty much know where this is going. What are the big sets there? Swords Dance, Nasty Plot, Stallbreaker. Stallbreaker is just the generic name given to Taunt Will-O-Wisp, and I mean, SD. I mean, it's got so many options. SD actually kind of has some awkward, what moves do I run kind of thing. Actually, no, not really. You pair it with Magnezone. Actually, maybe you don't even. But SD, Zen Headbutt, Earthquake, and you're hitting pretty much everything. I mean, then you can run Taunt to mess with Scarm and like Will-O-Wisp Rotom. You can mix in Coverage. You can mix in Roost. Yeah, this would be really fun to play. Nasty Plot, same thing. Nasty Plot, Aura Sphere, Fire. Oh, you can also mix in a Sucker Punch on the SD set. Yeah, that would be a blast. Oh, well, Mew's really low on health. Oh, boosted Sucker Punch took me out. Let's see. So then Nasty Plot would be like Nasty Plot, Psychic Fire Blast, Aura Sphere. That's actually pretty much perfect for an offense. Oh my god, that's dirty. Slams everything. Oh, it's walled by Latias, of course. And then you Nasty Plot Ice Beam, and goodbye Latias. So, yeah, and of course there's the fact that you can Lord Latias, like with a Heatran, or you can try and T-Tar it somehow, or like Dragon Pulse Heatran. Oh my god. Yeah. this would not be a pleasant Pokemon to face. And the Stall Breaker, I mean, Taunt, Will-O-Wisp. I mean, it doesn't even need the Taunt. I mean, just Will-O-Wisp knockoff. I mean, Roar, Worry Seed, Heal Bell, because instant recovery is so good. Mix and Protect if you really feel like. With the right, because right now we're just looking at Mew in a vacuum. We're not even looking at all the things that can be afforded to drop by virtue of its teammates. Like, for example, on some teams, Gliscor doesn't need to run Taunt because it's paired with Pokemon that make up for its need to taunt Rotom and Skarmory, just as an example. So, and Mew would definitely be like that, but amplified by a million. So, I mean, it would fit on everything. Offensive teams could lead off with it. Offensive teams could use it as a wall breaker, as a late game sweeper. I didn't even mention Rock Polish. It could... Shame it doesn't get Dragon Dance. That would be pretty insane. That would make arguing for it a lot easier, actually. Or arguing against it a lot easier. But yeah, it would, great wall breaker, great sweeper. And being good at everything it does, again, not necessarily measure brokenness. Look at Jirachi. You know, depending on who you ask. But it's, I think the problem is that it's too good at everything it does. And, yeah, I mean, I don't think it would completely ruin the metagame, but the thing about testing Ubers in OU is that, yeah, a lot of them would not completely ruin. Like, what do you envision when you say completely ruin? I mean, we used to play Gen 5 OU, early Black and White 2, that had Genesect, and what? There was so much broken stuff, I don't know where to start. Genesect, Dugtrio Sun, you know, with Genesect also, Sheer Force Landorus Incarnate, Tornadus Therian, Deoxys Defense, a bunch of other stuff that was, you know, stuff like Specs Keldeo and Rain was like, oh, well, it's not as broken as all these other things, because it was just, yeah, and in the midst of that metagame, you know, with, oh yeah, the Sandvale Garchomp was being reintroduced. That was a nightmare. And then, you know, Cure and Black was tested. And that was the worst metagame I've ever played, but it was still playable. So whenever someone says, oh, well, it wouldn't completely ruin the metagame, it's like, yeah, very little would. That's not exactly an argument. Because even that metagame, which I just described in disgusted but nostalgic detail, I mean, it was still playable. I mean, what does unplayable even mean? Like, the point was that it was just full of broken thing after broken thing, and that it had a negative effect on team building and playing. Because the broken aspects of the metagame had too strong a sway over it. That's what considering something broken is. That the sway it has over the metagame and, you know, in team building and in battle is too much. I mean, this is why Jirachi is a contentious point, because I and most other people don't think it goes too far. Some people do. But, you know, that one at least makes sense. But with Mew, I think it does go too far. So, yeah, I don't know what is expected when you say, oh, wouldn't completely ruin the metagame. And what do you expect? You know, Mega Rayquaza to descend and, you know, cause Showdown to explode or something? Yeah. So, no, Mew would not do that, but Mew would be a very unpleasant Pokemon to face. And I don't think it would bring anything positive either. Like, it's not, like... Latias was not broken, and it filled a lot of positives in the metagame. It checked a lot of stuff that was difficult to check. Mew checks stuff that we can already check pretty much, and is overbearing offensively. Yeah, I'm not seeing it personally. Now, if there are arguments for Mew, I'm interested in hearing them. But this is why I don't think Mew ever has a real chance of being tested. I mean, some people like to throw it around, oh, what if we tested Mew? But that's why I wanted to make this video, because some people might wonder why, and this is why I don't think it'll actually happen. Now, if someone wants to set up a Mew OU tournament, you know, sure, that would be cool, but I'd, you know, follow that with interest. But I don't see it ever seriously happening. There was precedent for Latias too, that was a big one, and there's not really any precedent for Mew, so I don't see it being anything more than like a fun side metagame. So I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I don't think anyone really wants to try to wall Mew defensively. I don't think anyone wants to fight balance teams with the Mew Clefable core. Yeah. Good lord. Also, in that last video, then people were talking about stall. I mean, you want stall to be irritating. Give it Mew. Mew, Latias, Jirachi, Clefable. Oh my goodness. That would be really, really something. You would have a lot of Mew wars if Mew came back to OU. That would be really, really unpleasant. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. So, thank you guys for watching, and for the next one I'll cover like Manaphy and why that would be stupid too. Or like Latias in advance or something. So yeah, if there's any questions, leave them and I will get to them. So, see you next time. Thanks guys.